She'll get a very warm welcome, of course, in Glasgow.
I'd like to mention here the young Indian archer, Deepika Kumari, 17-year-old who won a gold medal in the individual recurve event, and comes from a very humble, low middle-class family. Her father is actually an auto rickshaw driver, so she's done great. And I think, like I said, heroes for youngsters in India.
And I mentioned it, I think, maybe right at the top of the programme, but genuinely, I've sat now in stadia around the world at Olympics, World Championships, etc. And when that 4x4 team won the gold medal, it was you know, hairs on the back of your neck standing up and everything else. So it's impossible to really describe the noise. I've been in bigger stadia with more people, but never in an atmosphere like that. It was surreal almost. I tell you what it couldn't do, commentate.
That's usually what it's like at cricket matches here, not at track and field.
And what a contrast with the very formal nature of the opening ceremony. I mean, we always see this difference, of course, between opening and closing, but here you have it. You can see it very clearly here. Bit of a party atmosphere. Things are a lot more informal, a lot more relaxed.
There's some of the Cypriot team, and there was huge disappointment for them. We should mention one of the things that didn't go quite right here. I think some of the organisation was lacking, not because there weren't enough people here as such. I think some of the overseas officials, to do with the individual sports, were just put under, you know, they almost had too much to do. And in Artemata, the Cypriot 200-metre runner, really not sure that, well, she was disqualified, and the final got postponed, had to be run the next evening, and just could have been handled a little better. Canadians had a pretty good games. In fact, in track and field, they had a very good games. Won the decathlon, high jump, women's high jump, and their resurgence is good to see. Ryan Cochrane, I remember him on the very first day in the pool as well. And you know, the powerhouses of the Commonwealth movement are always going to be the England, yes, the home country nations. Will Sharman there with Jackson in the front, one of the athletes. Kywell, high jumper. We've got, as I was going on to say, these powerhouse sort of nations like England and Canada and Australia, and then the likes of South Africa, who I think have had a quiet games here. But India are becoming one of those powerhouses, second on the medal table here, and you want those big nations to really support the games going forward. Yes, we have lots of the small nations here, and maybe a champion of the future there, but it's really important that they do well, and winning medals is a big component of that. So it's good to see the Canadians doing well again. Well, there's plenty of people down there, and I think Sonali's managed to get Nicole Cook, of course, one of England's, Wales's great cyclists.
Nicole Cook, what is it like being in the stadium for the closing ceremony?
It's incredible. We've been waiting outside, I don't know, for at least an hour and a half, but it's just gone so quickly. We're just meeting up with friends, mixing with all the countries together, swapping badges, just having a great time. And yeah, when we walked out to the tunnel and could see the stadium, it was absolutely incredible. We're having a great time.
How's the whole 11 days been for you?
Oh, well, I arrived after a couple of days, but since I've been here, it's been absolutely amazing. And yeah, the competition has been good, all the venues have been excellent, and the spirit back in the village has been excellent. It's been a really, really good games.
And the next two games are on home soil.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Let's bring it on.
Well, have a good time.
Thank you.
Well, sorry for the little slip with Nicole Cook there. She is, of course, Wales. She was actually competing a few days before she came here to Delhi for Great Britain on that occasion. And, well, it was a disappointing couple of weeks for her, to be honest. She didn't come up with a medal either at the World Championships or here at the Commonwealth Games. But that's what I like about it. She's a big star, and she's out there with everybody else and enjoying this closing ceremony. The party is just beginning, I think. I think Delhi can handle a party though tonight, Tinky.
This must be like decompression for many of those athletes, right, Steve, when you're after such a huge event. And Delhi's definitely a party town.
I was chatting to, for track and field athletes, end of the year. For other athletes, you know, other sports, often they're going on to another championship. So it probably depends where you're sitting in the year, or your calendar, if you like, your competitive calendar. But yes, I suspect there'll be a few of the next night. Guernsey and Jersey, of course, were well represented. It wasn't a great games for the Channel Islands in terms of medals. I think that was young rubber yard there. But they had a good contingent in the sports in which they've tended to do well, the likes of shooting, etc. Bowls, and a fair few on the track as well. And I was just when we were talking, my mind was casting back to the opening ceremony, and we were talking about the likes of Nui Island, and there was just a moment when the Nui Island 4x100 relay team had made the final because of disqualifications. There was only 2 teams finished there, well, ended up on the result sheet for their particular heat, Singapore and Nui Island. And bless them, the lads weren't the quickest 4x1 team I've ever seen. And I didn't know whether they were panicking that they were going to be in the final or that they were pleased. In the end, a couple of the disqualifications were overturned, and they ended up not running in the final. But that would have been a great moment.
Everyone here enjoying the athletes parade, and everyone wanting to congratulate all those who took part, regardless of results. But of course, those who come away with a big medal haul, a very, very special reason to be proud and to celebrate. Once this athletes parade has been completed and everyone's in and everyone's settled down, we will move towards the formal handover of the flag, because a special interest, of course, for us in Britain, especially for our friends in Scotland, because really that is going to be the significant moment for them when they take ownership of the Commonwealth Games for the next 4 years. Look ahead to the Games in Glasgow in 2014. There's a formal handover, the flag is handed over, and then we have a presentation in various forms by hundreds of people from all around Scotland. Every part of Scotland represented in the presentation we'll see in a short while, and that's something for us all to look forward to.
Well, they're still streaming in, as you can see. They're coming in and then traversing across the arena to the far side and being guided to seats at either end of the arena, so that they can watch the rest of the ceremony. And they're taking their time, and why not? That's good to see. Lots of the athletics team there, I can see. Montel Douglas just waving at the camera at the far side. At least the water jump isn't available. It used to be one of the things at the closing ceremonies. Avoid the water jump at all costs. Covered up tonight, thank goodness. New Zealand just on the right hand side there, and it was a bit of an up and down games for the New Zealanders. They had a couple of tense finals against Australia in various sports, the likes of netball. Results didn't always go their way.
One thing I'd say, Steve, I mean, there were concerns before this closing ceremony about precisely how many athletes would be able to attend. We've touched on it a few times. But it does seem, just looking here, looking at some of the groups and remembering how many of them were represented in individual nations in the opening ceremony, it's a pretty good turnout.
Yes, Hugh, I think like me, you're looking at the seats, aren't you? Thinking, have they got enough seats out there? I think it's great. Actually, if you just look on your left-hand side, some of them have marched in and maybe already taken their chance to march out. Maybe they have flights to catch. As I mentioned, many of the England team on an early flight. Good to see that they managed to make it. Pakistan, we mentioned, was of course a bit of controversy in the opening ceremony when the chef de mission actually took the flag off the athlete who was meant to be carrying it. I read that it was one of their wrestlers who was meant to be bringing the flag in this time, and I doubt he's going to wrestle it off him, so probably a good idea.
And Pakistan actually did pretty well in these games, considering they doubled their tally from the last game, Steve. So that was pretty successful for them.
Yes, I still think for a nation like Pakistan,